If you are looking for a semi-hollow guitar this year, may I recommend to you the Epiphone Inspired by Gibson ES-335. Guys, I've got a new guitar to review on the channel today, the 2020 Gibson ES-335, inspired by Gibson line. We've had a couple of other guitars that have been in this inspired by Gibson kind of line here, and I'm excited to tell you this 335 is no freaking joke. Let's dive in and talk about this great guitar. Alright, so this is the Epiphone Inspired by Gibson ES-335. Now I want to tell you a little bit about what makes the ES-335 so coveted and what about the guitar people love the most and how Epiphone really nailed the build of this guitar. So first off, the 335 has been around for a while, since the late 50s, and people love it because it's a semi-hollow guitar. It's got a maple center block running through the length of the body, and the length of that block has changed throughout the years of Gibson making these guitars. They usually run the length of the body, but in the 70s and 80s we saw a maple block only ending on the stop tail. It kind of got weird the 70s and 80s, don't mind me, but listen, people love the idea of a Gibson semi-hollow guitar. Now people love the 335 mainly because of its versatility, I believe. The biggest thing is it can play rock, it can play jazz, it can play country, it can play blues. All these genres of American music, this guitar has those tones covered. And the hollow body with the center block keeps the feedback from being too overpowering. So you can get some really cool sounds with this guitar that a normal jazz box just couldn't do, hence this 335. But what are the sought after specs of a 335? When you think the 335 and they're going for 25 grand from the 50s or the early 60s, what are people really wanting? Well, what they really want is a stop tail. That's the first thing people love to see on a 335, and Epiphone nailed it. They want a stop tail bridge. There are all kinds of bridges from the 335 line. There are trapeze, there are Bigsby's. You can put any bridge you want on a 335, but people really wanted to see a stop tail, and that's why they're more expensive to find a classic 335 with a stop tail, because they stopped using them in the mid-60s. They went to trapeze and other kinds of bridge styles, but people still want to see this stop tail piece. Now the other part about the guitar that people love to see, of course, was the full-length maple center block, which Epiphone nailed. But the point is we have a full-on center block through the length of the body, which is what we want to have in our 335. Now as far as necks are concerned, this neck is going to be one of the 50s style necks, hence the dots kind of give it away, right? Gibson went to blocks in the 60s, Gibson went to parallelograms later down the line. The dots are what we see on a classic 57 to 59 ES-335. And the necks do show that. It's a very chonky neck, very big in the hands, which I love, and the great cherry on top was that they went back to a 1 11/16 nut width, another sought after factor in a lot of 335s. What the nut width does on a guitar is it determines how far the strings are spaced together. You got a wider nut width, you have more space on the strings. After 64, Gibson started using 1 9/16 nut widths on their 335s. I have a 1970 335, the strings are a little tighter. Now that's a stylistic thing, you may like that smaller nut width, but for the sake of the purists out there who want a pure, bred and true 335, the 1 11/16 nut width is important. Now, let's talk about the headstock. We had a 335 Pro a couple years ago. It was okay, it was cool. It had a really obnoxious giant Epiphone headstock and a pick guard with a giant E on it. Not really something you want to see when you want a 335, but we made do with what we had. We didn't want to spend 3 grand, so we bought one that maybe had some minor cosmetic things that we weren't a fan of. But this guitar has a fantastic headstock. Look at that headstock. The headstock is amazing looking. Now this headstock is a bit longer still than the traditional Gibson. And you see this fluting, this curve. It's gonna be a little different on the Gibson headstock, but it is so sneaking close to a Gibson headstock without copyright infringement, okay? And you know what? And I don't mind that. It's got the Epiphone crown. It's looking like a Gibson more and more, and I appreciate that. I'm not expecting to get something that looks exactly like a Gibson for $600, but I appreciate the attention to detail and the homage to classic Gibson designs. If we flip the guitar around, we've got Epiphone Deluxe tuners here, okay? Gibson Deluxe tuners are my favorites on the Gibsons. I like Clousons too, but listen, something about these classic looking tuners kind of gets me going, so I really appreciate that attention to detail once again. Now, as far as the pickups are concerned, I like these pickups a lot. These are essentially the Epiphone equivalent of a 57 classic pickup, and you can see it's got that PAF style design, and it just sounds really good to me. And it's the small things in life, like the pick guard without the Epiphone logo, or this really great binding that you get for, you know, $600 that I really love to see in a 335 style guitar. Guys, I hope you liked today's video. This 335 is stellar, great for any guitar player wanting to get into the semi-hollow guitar world. If you like the video, please consider subscribing. I make videos all the time. You guys do not want to miss a single episode. We do guitar reviews, we do tones, we do how to play certain songs, all kinds of things to make you a better guitar player. You don't want to miss out. Guys, go enjoy this 335, go get one yourself, and enjoy this incredible instrument. Have a good day, guys, and we'll see you next time on IkeGuitar.